we're going to be talking about decentralized NFT communities. So we have Michael Lee, founder of Gondola Capital, Chris Castiglione, co-founder of Console XYZ, SoVonna Goins, founder and CEO of Women X Meta, Amanda Terry, co-founder of MetaGood and creator of On-Chain Monkey, and finally Jason Fang, founder of Sora Ventures. Guys, the stage is yours.
So my name is Jason. So I started investing on a professional level since 2015. So I was used to be part of Fimbushi Capital and then started my own fund, Sora Ventures, in 2017. AUM is about 70 million USD. Most of the things with our industry from layer one, NFTs, DeFi, we've invested. So for example, Amanda is actually one of our portfolio companies here. IMX, we're the seed investor for them. So done generally well. I think around this topic, it's going to be a lot more meaningful for us because this is a direction that we're going to be tackling and investing. So yeah, very excited to be on stage.
Awesome. My name is Amanda Terry. I'm co-founder and chief operating officer of MetaGood. MetaGood is the company behind NFT collection On-Chain Monkey. We started the company in May 2021. We were the first 10,000 profile pic collection, all done in a single Ethereum transaction. Then we made history again last February as the first 10,000 NFTs inscribed on Bitcoin. So we're building on the Bitcoin ecosystem. We're very excited about that. And yeah, excited to be here today.
Awesome. I'm SoVonna Goins. I am the co-founder and curator of Genius for Women X Meta. I started this company with my two daughters after spending 30 years on Wall Street. Decided that decentralized communities and ecosystems were actually the way to go to provide access. So we're here to decentralize disruption.
My name's Chris. Most people call me Castig. Console XYZ is a chat app for Web3 communities. If you have an NFT community or a Web3 community, it's the place to be. We're on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and also very excited to have the first Ordinals chat coming pretty soon. So if anybody's building on Ordinals, love to chat with you after.
Yeah, I'm Michael Lee, and I've been in the fund and investment space for about 15 years. And 4 years ago, I started my own company called Gondola Capital, which actually was acquired in February. So, but I work with crypto funds for the most part. So PowerFi Capital, Morgan Creek Digital, 6529 Capital. Those are clients that I work with and work with institutional investors. Actually, Morgan Creek's an investor in On-Chain Monkey.
Thank you to you.
MetaGood.
I think you introduced Mark Yusko to us, so thank you.
Yeah, that's
your
right.
holder too.
Yeah,
so
last summer I brought him a
community right here, right? To
last summer I brought him a
trust.
hat in his backyard and socks. And he's like, "This is great." And then next thing you know, yeah, it's great. Yeah, so that's me, but so yeah, our topic is decentralized NFT communities, and I think all of us have a part in that in some shape or form. And maybe Amanda, if you want to kick us off with what that means to you. And
Sure. I mean, to us, so we were a free mint back in September 2021. Then we did a dessert drop of 10,000 desserts, of which the rarest ones were being sold for about 200 grand. So we've created a lot of wealth for our community, over $25 million, and then $8 million for our company. And we put 50% of our public mint revenue last June into a DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So it has about 2,000 ETH, roughly 3.6, 3.8 million, depending on the price of ETH. ETH's going up, woohoo! And we enable all of our NFT holders to propose projects and then also vote on how those funds will be used. So people have started businesses like NFT Canvases, which is like a token-gated canvas print, very high-end print company. People have done creative endeavors. Now we have On-Chain Monkey theme songs on Spotify that was done by an artist out of Argentina. We've done social impact. Like there was a group out of Brazil that literally rehabilitated a whole skate park that was an unusable space. And if you look from the top down as a drone, it looks like an On-Chain Monkey. We just passed in Prop House, shout out to Nouns DAO, we use their infrastructure for our voting on the DAO, a 25 ETH grant for our community to run IRL events. Just an experiment. Let's see how it goes. It's from NFTLA through Bitcoin Miami, and so we had a team of like 4 people organize 3 days of events for for our community. They started, yesterday morning I did a run in Central Park with them all the way into the evening. Tonight we'll have a private party on the New York Stock Exchange floor, all organized by our community and funded through our DAO. So when we talk about power of decentralization, we really believe in progressive decentralization. So the New York Stock Exchange was our relationship. We helped to make the introduction, but I couldn't be more excited and really honored to be part of this company where we've really inspired our community to come together and create awesome, memorable IRL and online experiences for each other.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I've been a part of On-Chain Monkey for quite a while, and what they're building there is it's incredible to see how communities can rally around really a token that started it all. One thing that I think about quite often is like decentralization and how really like we're all on Twitter, and we're really building our castles on someone else's sand. We're just kind of visitors and tourists on their servers. And talking with you about what you're doing at Console with a focus on Web3 ethos and decentralization, those things are exciting to me. So maybe if you have some thoughts on what you guys are building there.
Yeah, I mean, the real pain point for me coming into this space, sometimes people ask me when I got into Web3, and I'll say 20 years ago, because when I saw Napster and like decentralized peer-to-peer sharing, it's been around for years, I was just like blown away by what was possible to own music. Then when Bitcoin came out, it was like peer-to-peer money, and you could own your own money for the first time. Ethereum and the projects that we have here, you can own part of your company, your community, your DAO, and all of this momentum I noticed was happening on Discord, it was happening on Telegram, these like really closed platforms that weren't going to evolve with this space, with all of us here. And so Console was born out of that as a way to build on principles of decentralization, open source, user-owned data. And as you're saying, like, if you create a community, you want to be able to have ownership and control, really, of that, and to be portable and bring it with you. And if you do that on Twitter, I mean, the rules change every week now, right? So just last week, Substack links were banned, right? So you want to have that flexibility and freedom, and we want to create that platform for the users to own and have control over.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it seems like I'm becoming the moderator of this panel.
You're doing a great job.
I have a question for SoVonna, actually, because we're talking about a little bit about ownership and how Bitcoin can also make things more inclusive for people. Maybe you could talk a little bit, SoVonna, about what you're working on and how you're trying to further and bring maybe more people into the crypto world, and how is that going?
So let me first say, I didn't know what I was going to actually get up here and say, so it was really dangerous. You have to know who you're working with before you actually invite them to come and speak. But this is called Decentralized NFT Communities. We will have no decentralized NFT communities if we have no representation. There are about 1,500 speakers that were promoted for this particular conference. Less than 1% were Black. That's not representation. And we have to decentralize this in a way to ensure that we live up to the promise of decentralization, but also democratization, right? So what Women X Meta does is basically educate women and people of color to ensure that they have an opportunity to build here. So it isn't just about what wealth we can create. We need to be a part of the ecosystem that allows us to be a critical function of making sure that this build is responsive to many marginalized communities. So, a little bit of what I feel here is that we have to do better. Many people on this stage and many people in this audience have power, privilege, and access in ways that so many do not. So we have to remember that although we're talking in somewhat of an echo chamber here, the idea is to onboard more people who do not have that same access and opportunity. So this is really critically important that we all sort of lean in to how we are going to make sure that this isn't just what this looks like, that it actually is more inclusive. So we do that every day. We do that in the form of IRL. We meet people where they are, because so many things that we've created here are inaccessible just on its language alone. Right? Nobody understands what we're talking about half the time. DAOs, you know, decentralization. We had a whole discussion the other day on a Twitter space. By the way, my Twitter space is called Bad Bitches Bullshit in the Blockchain. It's every Thursday at 5 o'clock except for today. But we talk about all of this, and we talk about how we're going to change here in Web3 because we didn't do it right before. This is the third generation. I'm doing this with my kids to make sure that we create that pathway. So I don't know if that was
That's amazing.
Question.
That's great. That's great.
So maybe this is an opportunity where you can help me learn a little bit. You know, we have Twitter Spaces for console, and a lot of times I'll see a more diverse crowd show up in but they don't often come on stage. Like, it just tends to be a lot of guys speaking.
That's terrible.
So how educate me? How can we help make that more diverse?
So it's pretty easy. So I keep telling people this is not really tricky. If you want more inclusion, you would invite it in, right? So if you see someone on the stage that looks inclusive, I don't know how you figure that out. I am my PFP, and that's because of that woman right there who encouraged me to dox myself and not use my avatar. But really invite that in. If you see it, bring it up. You know, Rachel does that on her show, The Good News Show. She invites it in. And you have to be a little uncomfortable with those conversations. But I think it will enlighten us. It will create richness, right? One of my friends here did a talk, and he basically said, his name is Ant, and he basically said, if you don't have the culture involved in Web3, what do you have going on here? And the culture's not represented here. You know, I love what we have going on, but we can do so much better than this. So invite it in, make sure it comes, and make sure that you are welcoming and that you are offering that opportunity.
Cool, thank you.
So Jason, you have done a lot of investing in NFT communities. What do you look for? What's the criteria of the sign of a strong, decentralized NFT community that it would interest you in investing?
So, you know, from a VC perspective, we generally don't like to be investing into specifically games, GameFis, like Metaverse. We usually prefer to invest in the infrastructure around it. And because the reason for that is because I think from a technology perspective, we're still very, very early. Obviously, I think if you're looking from a NFT perspective, we invested in On-Chain Monkey because, you know, we believe in what they're doing is very niche. For example, I'm an ape holder myself, but, you know, even for a lot of events, I have events this year, if you want to go get into an ape event, you need to own your ape yourself, right? You need to own something in order to get in. It feels like a membership thing, but, you know, there's not a lot of NFT projects out there that are like much more neutral. For example, my understanding is you guys did a full mint on the Ordinal protocol, and that's something that I think a lot of projects have done, but they're not doing it from a company perspective. And if you're a Bitcoin maxi, you've been in the space as long as a lot of people have on stage, you'll realize that Bitcoin maxis are like, they think basically in a straight line. If it's on Ordinal, is it on Bitcoin, then that's relevant to me. If it's not, I don't care about the price. I don't care about the animation or the looks or the photos. If it's not on Bitcoin, I'm not going to be a part of it. And sometimes it's really hard to change that mindset. But then so it really depends on the project having that open mindset that they're willing to do that on the Bitcoin blockchain. And so that's one way that I think projects, NFT projects are doing to engage in other communities. IMX, for example, when we invested in IMX, they did NFTs. But as they progressed over kind of like, you know, 2019, the bear market, they struggled at 1.2 as well. And, you know, what we realized is that, you know, they really needed support from other communities as well. And so, you know, recently they did announce a partnership with Polygon. And I think over time, people will start to realize that yes, we're building our own community, but eventually we'll have to work with other communities. And that's going to be a trend. And obviously, certain communities will have certain advantages. For example, right now, the trend for investing is that we're seeing a lot more on encryption, on zero knowledge. And there's a reason for that. Is because if you think about it, blockchain itself so far has been about open data. It's about data sharing. But not everyone wants to share data openly, right? And so when you add an encryption layer on top, you're basically enabled data sharing, but on a more private scale. And that's something that we don't see today, but eventually this will affect NFT communities. This will affect enterprise, blockchain enterprise, which is going to be a big part because right now our industry is basically still about trading, speculation. But really, we should be focused on utility. And I personally think when big companies like Starbucks or Nike, they're doing something with NFT projects, but on very specific projects, and these are relatively small scales. What's going to happen is if you add an encryption layer in there, it's very, very likely that they'll end up using blockchain or something on the scale of blockchain, throughout their entire user base, and that's going to be very, very powerful. I mean, we're always looking 5 years, 6 years ahead of time. I mean, when we invested in NFTs, it was 2018. It was called 721, and when we invested, there were basically companies that didn't even know how to monetize on it. So for example, we invested in yachts, the emojis. And at one point, people thought it was kind of dumb to have emojis, but then when they integrated with the browser, it's a lot of people got very excited, and that's just the start. And I think right now, currently, we're also in the start where projects like On-Chain Monkey, they'll start pushing it. And from our perspective, we're just funding it, supporting it, but our vision is aligned.
So Jason, you mentioned Starbucks and Polygon, and I thought it was really interesting. I went through the onboarding process for Starbucks Odyssey, and not once did they mention NFTs, not once did they mention blockchain, and I think to reach scale like that with institutions like Starbucks and other brands in the space, it really isn't important to talk about the actual technology itself. And it's a widely known truism in tech that technologies become consumerized when you stop talking about the tech. It's no one signs up for an Instagram account because Instagram uses Python on the back end. It's just they sign up for Instagram because they want to use it. So I think that's exciting. And even thinking about Starbucks, so is that a decentralized NFT community? I mean, we could debate that, but the fact is they're using decentralized systems to engage with their customer base, and that's really neat, and we'll continue to see that grow.
I totally agree.
Can I ask a question? So for Michael and for Jason, you all are investing and you're looking for projects. How do you create the pipeline to ensure that you have offered investment opportunities to maybe some lower profile, less well-known projects? How do you build that pipeline?
Specifically in NFTs?
I think that's the only thing we can talk about.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of existing companies today, they have their own NFTs, which the ones are very expensive. Obviously mostly for whales, right? But for example, they have their own ERC20 tokens now. A lot of them have some form of token, and those tokens you can actually easily purchase. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, hosting a lot more events. Where you're much more open about it, or even doing cross events. Or for example, this company is working with another company, and the whole point I think right now is that a lot of people are still they have a lot of money in the bag, and so they still kind of very comfortable. But at one point they're going to run out of cash. At one point they're going to start being creative about how they can scale, because every company today right now is. Your roof is the Web3 industry. And if the Web3 industry shrinks, then you're gonna get affected by it. And so what's gonna end up happening is once you realize that, I've acquired X amount of users in my community, now I wanna go beyond that, it's gonna take more and more money to do that if you're just basically doing pure marketing. But we probably will onboard a lot more users if you work with other companies. Right, because they have other users too, right? And in order to do that, both founders need to have very basically aligned vision and very open-minded. And from there, other communities can get involved. Yeah.
So do you provide sort of training to help
Yeah,
projects to understand how to get involved
Yeah,
and
so-
gain access to what you do?
So for our fund, for example, about 10% of our AUM is invested into media, conference, and the community development. And generally, companies like that don't make money. In fact, if you look at media as a general industry, it's the worst investment sector. Like almost you're guaranteed to lose money. Like Forbes was bought by Binance, for example, right? They were struggling for many years trying to get bought out by private entities. But even that, we're investing in media. The opportunity cost is extremely high. You're probably better off putting in Bitcoin today than investing in a media company. But the reason why we're investing in that is because you need someone to back these media companies in order for that education to continue to thrive, right? Our industry is still very early. It's not going to be me going on the stage every day or you guys going on the stage and telling people about, hey, buy Bitcoin or like buy this new project, right? It's going to be media companies that are publishing from a very professional level and curating experience for their own kind of target users. And so that's why we believe that it's important to invest in media.
Amanda, you mentioned progressive decentralization. What is that? What exactly does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we started the company, we did a number of impact projects through the secondary trading of our revenues, including we funded getting Sharbat Gula and her family out of Afghanistan to Italy. We created our own NFT. It was a mosaic of 25,000 monkeys with the earth with a heart over Ukraine. We raised about 200 grand to donate to Save the Children to do humanitarian aid in Ukraine. And those were decisions kind of done by the executive team. We're like, we believe that you can create wealth for your community and do real world good. So that was kind of our executive team that decided to do that. But now with the DAO, people are proposing projects that they can also get funding from that are social impact, business related, artistic endeavors. So that's kind of what we look at. What I'm also saying when you're just talking about Bitcoin is just that is, I feel like, probably the most accessible fungible token right now. It's twice the size market cap of Ethereum. When we saw the bump for Ethereum, Solana, Polygon with the NFTs coming onto those chains, that hasn't happened yet for Bitcoin. And that's why, frankly, we're so excited about it, because it's the largest market cap, most decentralized, most secure chain. And it's just such early days for us on the ordinal side, and that's why we're just so bullish for our ability to build on ordinals and be, the first 10,000 inscribed on Bitcoin. Now bringing these two iconic brands, Asprey and Bugatti. Asprey was founded in 1781, Bugatti, I think, 1880. Like, to bring high-end art is literally to the Bitcoin blockchain. Like, yes, you're like, great job, MetaGood, but actually it's really a win for everyone working in the Bitcoin space and the ordinals to, basically combat like Senator Warren saying you have to be able to throw a dart at something. It's like, look, we have the egg. We have a physical egg that's going to be sold, and it's going to be on an NFT. And so it's a real win for the industry, I think, what we're working on and being pioneering in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah, and together we're building a pro-crypto army. So.
Exactly.
Can I follow up on your progressive community idea? What's the difference in your mind between philanthropy and impact?
Hi, guys.
Oh,
I
we're
think
just
we're out of
having
time.
too much fun.
Was that
Give us 30 more minutes.
I'm going to be calling up the next speaker.
Oh.
But that was a fantastic talk. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.